Good morning. We are here at the Biohacking Congress and in Boston with 30 amazing speakers and more than 30 health companies in the exhibition hall, of which this gentleman is one of them, but we'll get into that in a second. It's just such a great opportunity for all of us biohackers to meet with each other, with doctors, with researchers, with scientists, with innovators, like Robbie here, and to get to connect in person. This is really, these weekends are like life-changing events, right? And you can actually learn more about Biohacking Congress by going to biohackingcongress.com, and you can actually sign up for one of the next two events. The next one's going to be in Miami on October 22nd and 23rd of 2022, and the one after that will be February 4th and 5th in beautiful Austin, Texas.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be great because Austin's such a great place. So anyway, today, or now, I'm here with Robbie Besner, who is the co-founder and head product developer, the guy with all the big ideas who makes them come to life, really. Robbie Besner. Robbie, welcome from Therasage. Did I say Therasage?
Yeah, you got
I think I said Therasage. So welcome to our interview.
Right. Well, thank you, and it's a pleasure being here, really.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well,
and the community that's listening in, because it gives us an opportunity to share ideas and bring out how important venues like this are, particularly if you haven't had a chance to get here in person.
Yeah.
This gives everybody a little flavor about the kinds of things they can learn when they're here, which is really about experiencing life and really dialing up the optimization of your health journey, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the great thing about these events is it really gives people the opportunity, I find, to get there, to experience products and services, right? So at your booth, for example, you can sit in an infrared sauna for a little while. You can get your hands on the tools that we use as biohackers to optimize our health, or sometimes to get over some kind of a health challenge. So it's a great opportunity, not to mention the fact that you get to meet the people themselves and kind of hang out and talk to them and get to know them a little bit, which is always a gift. So this is the second time Robbie and I have had the opportunity to record a podcast together. The first time was when my podcast was just starting, and Robbie was kind enough to give me some time and to share some information with me and my audience at the time. So this is really exciting because we kind of get
it's nice to catch up a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been up to so many things since we last spoke.
There's nothing boring about my life, I'll tell you that.
No. Okay. So I think what we'll do today is, I know that you have a lot of different topics that you talk about these days, but maybe you can tell people a little bit about Therasage and your mission and all of, what your real focus is in that.
Sure. Well, we're sort of a passionate company. We're born from a family situation where my daughter at a young age got Lyme disease. And so we kind of got on this track of looking for ways to just enhance my daughter's health experience, and that led us to discovering the healing powers of infrared frequencies, sunlight. Mm-hmm. And that was like 25 years ago. And so over the years, as we made discoveries and invented little innovations, and then we saw how my daughter was responding, and her practitioners who were Lyme literate doctors, so speaking to the Lyme community or chronic disease, infectious disease type of situations, autoimmune. Mm-hmm. The power of harnessing nature as we do and bringing it in the convenience of having it in your home at an affordable way is part of our sort of mantra.
Yeah.
And living through an experience with my daughter where we had really exorbitant medical bills between medications and traveling, because at 25 years ago, most of the really good Lyme doctors weren't where we were living.
Yeah.
So we had to make all those plans and so forth. And so during that experience, I realized quickly that even though you can find the best practitioner, and even it's much easier these days because we have telemed and you can zoom into somebody across the world, but those days you actually had to travel to see the practitioners.
Yeah.
And so it became very apparent to me that you see your doctor maybe once a month. For us, it was every 6 weeks. Yeah. But the rest of their time, you're home. You're managing your own healthcare, your family, and/or yourself, your person. So we figured that if we could develop a system, or let's say devices and applications, health applications, that would allow someone to maintain their health when they're home. That would be really something unique and something special. And so that's kind of the backbone of who Therasage is.
Right.
So our products are affordable, they're easy to set up and use, they can go everywhere. We make them with different electrical currents so that you can buy a product that will serve anywhere in the world now.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it's kind of a fun
Well,
mission.
it's amazing when you can speak to a sauna that you can take with you, right?
Right.
I think that the barrier of entry with saunas is there's many of them, right? And I mean, we're not necessarily, I mean, we'll talk about saunas in a bit, but I think that just as an example, the barrier of entry of buying a sauna is, number one, do I have the budget?
Right.
Right? So to buy a good sauna is expensive. Something that's not toxic, that's not going to do more harm than good, which we can talk about what might drive that. Then, do I have the space? Like, not everybody has a room or a place where they can put like some other room, add a room to their house virtually. And then, of course, there's the confusion of what kind of sauna do I buy? How do I figure this out? So definitely, I mean, if you can make a sauna portable and affordable, you've done something pretty impressive already.
You know, we're so synced up, it's crazy, because that was actually the underpinning or the thinking behind the portable design that we made. Because initially we made a wooden format, and we still do.
Yeah.
And it's for people, when you talk about a sauna, whether it be like a hot rock sauna or steam room, there's this vision of this cabin,
in the woods.
Yeah, well, if you really want to get rustic about it. But you know, and so to convert people's thinking, and even today, like even as people come up, well, I have a real sauna, that would be the wooden one. When they look at my portable, I go, but you don't, then you don't get it, because what we're doing is putting so much more science and so much more, I can do so much more in that little cabin of mine. And because I am the device developer, I basically go where I feel the best value is to the consumer, and certainly what health attributes you could bring into that little cabin.
Yeah.
First, it's the sauna itself and the delivery system, but about 5 or 6 years ago, I had this concept: if I have you in my sauna for 30 minutes, what other interventions, what other modalities can I stack into that experience? That first of all, you get the synergy of the effects of sauna and whatever that is, which we can also talk about if we have time today.
No, we'll make time.
All right, and you have that synergy effect, and you can do it sort of a modular way, so you can add in something as it goes, or whatever serves you based on whatever your health goals are or challenges are. And so we not only develop all the devices, but we also develop all the health protocols, the applications, because it's not just good enough to make it a good device and deliver it. Wow, try working with FedEx and UPS these days. It's unbearable. They've got more rocks to crawl under why they don't deliver on time, but they don't have a problem taking your money on time, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, and then how to use it to get the best result. And back to your point before, when I'm dating myself a little bit, but years ago there used to be an adult toy store called the Sharper Image. And the original store was in Chicago, right on the right on the river.
Sharper Image. They always had the coolest stuff.
Right. So that's what I feel when I get here. It's like you can go out to the vendor area and you can touch each of these items, and you can talk to the people like myself that makes it and why it's so special or unique. And I think that is just an experience from just an adult, the opportunity to touch and feel and get that visceral response, and then meet the people behind it. I think that's just a wonderful attribute that the Congress, that this venue offers.
So let's back it up a little bit. So we kind of jumped into the products, and I think before we do that, I think I really want to talk about what is it about sauna. And I mean, we, you know, in the biohacking health optimization space, we talk about sauna a lot. But let's maybe talk, and your sauna is not just heat, it's also infrared and red, right?
Yep.
And then there's stones. There's specific stones in there. So there's a lot going on.
Yes.
But so let's talk about, first of all, what drove you to turn to sauna therapy to treat your daughter, right? Because we can use sauna from a health optimization perspective. So we're in, you know, someone who's in a reasonable level of homeostasis. So that means most systems are working really well, and we're just trying to be better. But then the amazing thing about sauna is that it serves a population that needs help. And so maybe let's talk a little bit about those applications of sauna and how exposure to extreme heat basically can support these people in their journey to health.
Well, in the cathartic process in our device development and our history, the sauna wasn't the first thing we made.
What was the first thing you made, actually?
Well, we made, oh my God, actually this is, the first thing I made was a computerized infrared massage bed. You laid on this bed and these jade rollers went up and down your back, and it did segmental adjustments so that you could actually get off the bed and feel a little taller. And so it didn't have any, there wasn't any human interaction. It was you and the bed. It was mechanical. Mm-hmm. So that some people actually are massagophobic. They don't like to be touched.
I know someone like that.
Some religions are that way, like
Sure.
the Mormon religion is one of them in particular. And so, but for me, that particular development was interesting because it really gathered a lot of different kinds of modalities, like chiropractic adjustments and infrared technology. So you're getting all these things working. And one of in the latest bits of research that we've been focusing on is the impact of the systems. If you can get all of your systems online in your body, then the heavy lifting is done by nature the way we've been designed to do it.
Yeah.
And so the sauna just creates that primal healing platform that allows you to be the best that you can be, your optimal health, right?
Yeah.
So we made this computerized bed. It didn't quite do, it's still one of my best things I've ever made.
Do you still make it?
No.
Oh, okay, it's gone. So don't forget that.
That died on the vine years ago, mostly because it wasn't, the U.S. really wants most people want to get a massage therapist and do all that stuff.
For some people, it's the touching they get.
Yeah.
Like if you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and we did have a relationship with a company called Massage Envy. They're big now, but in their earlier stages, they saw what we saw, that there are people that don't want to be touched. So because they're selling a massage service, they thought for those people that don't want to, it could transition them into actually being touched, which is their main thing. But it was still is a great device, but just isn't appropriate for the U.S. market. Let's leave it that way.
It wasn't commercially viable.
Yeah, but that led me to take a look at what was so unique about that, and that made me unpack the infrared side of it. And then the first real product that is still here today are these healing pads we make. And they're an on-body experience, so it's the same full spectrum infrared technology, but you actually put it on the areas that you want to give some extra love and attention to.
I love those. They're like, it's like, I mean, they're small. I mean, you have
They
some
come in different sizes.
But it's kind of like a heating pad on steroids. You know, it takes the heating pad concept and elevates it in several different ways, right? Because you have different options.
Well, it's full spectrum frequencies. That's the way sun delivers it to the planet.
Yeah.
So that's what happens in nature, and many of the things that we do mimic nature, and that's part of what I try to do. And another part of my mission is to bring nature back into our lives, because we don't touch the earth anymore, so we're not grounded, and we don't get enough sunlight and fresh air. Depends on where you live. Like up in Canada, it's colder more than it's warmer. This is a beautiful time, by the way, to be up there. And so you don't go out, or you're dressed in layers and layers of clothes, so you don't get sunlight and fresh air and the things you need. And so following that trend, we felt that it's important if we could develop kinds of devices that can encapsulate what nature does to the body and bring that into your home. So you can actually have it fold into your busy lifestyle that we have created for all of ourselves, that serves a really strong purpose, because it maintains the integrity of your health and vitality, and also whatever lifestyle you're choosing to live. So that's part of it.
Right.
So that actually, after we did the pads, I thought, I'm having this great on-body experience. How about a full body experience, you know? And that at the same time, we were developing a wooden sauna. We still make a wooden sauna, and it's very unique, but they're very expensive. And to your point, when we made the wooden sauna, which we curated the wood in Canada, we sent it to China at the time to be prepped and had the mechanics done there. And then we had it brought from China to the US.
Man, talk about a Sasquatch footprint.
Well, besides that, what we didn't realize when we first started doing that was that each country requires that you spray the woods as it leaves one country to enter another, because the woods carry insects and various different kinds of bacteria that are not necessarily the common to the place you're going to.
Right.
So to bring a wood product into the US, it has to be certified.
Yeah.
And or it doesn't come in, because the US doesn't want foreign bacteria and foreign insects and so forth coming in here that might hurt our health. So I was really smart there, because I got my wood sprayed twice, out of Canada to China, from China to the US. Because remember, my community is the infectious, people that are chemical sensitive, and I didn't realize at the time because these woods off-gas these pesticides that they use to be able to bring the woods in. So I reoriented all that work, which was about 18 to 20 months, and found a really great US domestic sauna wood group out of Bentonoff, Iowa. We gave them our requirements, and that's where we make our wooden saunas now, which is an amazing, if you want a wooden sauna, this is great. We use natural aspen wood where there's no terpenes, no off-gassing, and it's just amazing. But when we made that, what we got was, because even though I have intention in everything I do, I'm a very active learner and listener. And so we the focus group is the public. It's all you guys. You got this wooden sauna, you go, I really need to get a wooden sauna, but I can't afford it. So that was the first thing, that expense. So, okay, the good wooden ones for 2 people will run $3,000-$4,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to make a version of a sauna that was around $1,000. That was my first requirement. The next was, I live in Manhattan. I live in Manhattan. I have $1 million apartment, but it's 700 square feet. So I have no room for like this wooden footprint, right? Unless I want to move my bed into my sauna, which I'm sure actually I have to think about. Maybe that's a good idea for the next product.
Maybe-ish.
Okay, well,
I
anyway.
find I sleep better when I'm cool.
Yeah. All right, well, anyway. So don't have to think about something that's space related, and I also have to think about a design that is relatively affordable.
Right.
And that's where I dreamed up this portable format. And that was the beginning of just a never-ending, wonderful journey, because we keep layering and layering this. Just in the last upgrade, and by the way, we often, as a company, we're not General Motors. Like, we do have a little board of directors, but I don't have to ask permission of a lot of people in order for me to do research and understand that there's a innovation I can incorporate into that experience that will really up the optimization. Whether you're sick with some infectious chronic ailment, or you're just about being as healthy as you can be to your very last breath, it's all good for me.
Right.
And we don't spare any expenses. And oftentimes we do upgrades, and even now we're in the middle of doing upgrades that we will integrate into our sauna, but not talk about it for probably 2 or 3 years, because we're really ahead of the curve. And for us, it's more important about doing it rather than broadcasting it. So, and I guess we can get into that a little bit later.
Yeah,
too.
I think we want to get into that. So, I mean, I think that, when we talk about sauna therapy, of course, the first thing that people really think about is detoxification. And we know that when somebody's carrying a burden of disease, let's say, it's tricky. It's a very fine line as to how we help to guide the body to release toxins without those toxins becoming more of an issue for the body.
Right.
And so maybe what we can touch on now is how people would use sauna, so deliberate extreme heat exposure, as it were. And maybe, I think one of the things we talked about in that first podcast was your model, for the most part, is a head-out model.
Right.
And that actually is a very deliberate design. I mean, you can still choose to sit inside the sauna if you really want to. But there's a reason why having your head out of the sauna might be the right thing for you. And I think that really applies actually to people who are carrying a burden of infection to some degree. So maybe we could speak to that a bit, like what that is.
Well, there's 4 reasons.
There you go.
Okay, so, the first one is obvious, your head's out. But why is that important? Well, first off, if you've got any challenges with space, like claustrophobia and all that, it's a little, these cabins can be very confining.
Yeah.
For people that have that little phobia. So having your head out allows you to just enjoy the landscape of your room or your home or whatever, however you have it pointed, or even have the sauna pointed towards your TV or something,
right,
like
you can
that.
distract yourself. Sure.
Yeah, so that's one thing. The other thing is that your brain cells are a lot more sensitive to heat than your body is. And so because our orientation is to try to help people that have chronic ailments, and these days it's actually becoming a lot more prevalent. Yeah, I know. But many chronic ailments, it's about toxicity and inflammation and how that affects the body. That makes you symptomatic. But even like, let's say the root cause, and our orientation was from Lyme disease. So let's talk about Lyme for a minute. You've got this parasite or coinfections that are bacteria that are around your body, and your terrain is imbalanced a little bit. Now anaerobes, that whole category, which could be mold, it could be parasites, it could be bacteria, it could be viruses. All these anaerobes, they don't like heat.
Oh, so by the way, for those of you who don't know, anaerobes are bacteria that function without oxygen. So
very low, no or very low.
Low to no oxygen.
Okay.
And so they also don't like heat.
They don't like heat.
Good.
So
I like that.
How
we like
do
what they don't like.
Well, if I can do something, if I can create a device that is physiologically beneficial for you to thrive, but not to make those little microbes so happy.
Yeah.
That would be my joy. My mother used to tell me a story like, son, when you go off to college, I'm selling all the things in your room and I'm going to rent your room out to an au pair because I don't want you coming back.
Nice.
And so that's kind
Mom.
of my idea. Well, she's loving. Of course, she didn't do all that, but she would threaten me. So she did. What she really was saying was, move on with your life. And that's what I'm saying to you all. Yeah. It's like, we want to create an environment where these bugs aren't happy, so you can move on with your life in a healthy way, and the way that I believe that we were intended to be.
Right. Okay.
And so the second thing is raising your core temperature, creating a false fever. Now, because the brain cell is more sensitive than the body cells are in terms of thresholds of heat. So I think it's around 104.5 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit of your core temperature. That's a fever of 104, which is pretty high.
Which is intense and doesn't feel good.
So then your brain cells start to break down. A lot of people start to hallucinate. And then eventually, before your brain turns off, it might do a hard boot. That's sort of the process on all that stuff. Well, we don't get anywhere near that. But most of the anaerobes, most of these parasites, their sensitivity is around 101 to 101.5. That's not a low-grade fever, but it's a fever, but it's not 105, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can raise your core to 101.5. That means that it's going to create a natural die-off of all these organisms. And the reason why you get sick from a microbe or a parasite or a virus is because there's something about your internal chemistry that allows them to thrive. They only do three things really well. They use your life resources, they poop, which is a toxin, and when they die off, their carcasses are a toxin too,
Yeah.
So they make you toxic and they use up all your life resources. Not good.
It's a really bad deal.
Also, what they love to do, and that their main mission in life, is just replicate.
Right.
And if they can replicate faster than your immune system can knock them out, then they win and you get sicker. So by raising your core, their ability to replicate starts to slow down. That gives your body and your own natural immune system a chance to really fight back. Or if you're doing some kind of medications or supplements that will support that, sort of shift from more healthy for you and less for them, that would be part of a goal. Okay, a couple of last things.
Yeah.
All right, so if you're a person that still has dental amalgams, that mercury is a metal and it expands and contracts with heat and cold. When you're in sauna and you have mercury fillings and your body is getting warmed up, and if you're in a cabin, now these fillings are expanding, and when they do and then they contract, there's actually an off-gassing of that mercury, which could increase your mercury toxicity if you don't have whatever you have. Which slows down your cognitive processes and basically overall is not going to make you feel good. That's the heavy metal detoxing.
And it leaves you more susceptible to other.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I think what happens in this world is people can, whether it's mold exposure or Lyme or Epstein-Barr virus, whatever the first chip is that falls, it now leaves people more susceptible to the others.
Yeah.
And so very often we see people and we call them co-infections.
Yeah.
They have Lyme and
Yeah.
mold and
Well, a lot of these organisms, they travel
packs.
together. Yeah.
yeah.
So as it relates to Lyme, if you get exposed to, let's say, a Lyme tick, that tick may not carry just Lyme. It could carry the co-infections at the same time, and so
Right.
you're getting a dose of that. And if your environment, climate inside is so that it's strong for them to prosper, they'll take hold, and then over time, you become symptomatic simply because you become more toxic, and that could, if you're younger, it could take 10 years before you become symptomatic.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me, actually, how people can be unknowingly infected as a young person, and then all of a sudden, and who knows, right? Is it the burden of we often talk about the barrel, right? We're born with a barrel. It's got our genetics, it's got our environment, it's got all of these things. And we don't really experience disease until that barrel overflows. And what that Lyme or co-infection does is probably cranks it up a bit, reduces the amount of space you have left.
Right.
Right? And so once it overflows, it could actually be something completely unrelated. And you just suddenly start to feel really crummy.
Yeah, what you talk about is that tipping point.
Yeah.
Okay, and my hopes would be, and what generally works with people when they're got healthy systems, is that even though that barrel's filling up, at the same time, your body is designed to kind of keep emptying that barrel.
Exactly.
It's only when you can't empty it as fast as it fills up. And part of it has to do with the world that we're living in these days.
There's so much more.
We're beaten up with chemtrails and glyphosate in your water, food, and air these days. And there's just so much exogenous frequencies like 5G. And if you think those cell towers just have 5G on it, let me just tell you right now, there's 7 and 10G on the same tower. So we are immersed in these frequencies that we can't really react to because you can't smell them, taste them, hear them, but yet it still affects us. It keeps pounding, and you have enough of those stressors on your immune system, and if you're genetically disposed so that you're a little bit more fragile per se, then you're going to get hit hard.
Hit harder.
Yeah.
So the sauna helps to create an environment in the body, like just from a physical perspective, just from the heat, that is less hospitable. So let me ask you this: the sauna gets quite hot, right? Your saunas go up to, I think it's 170 degrees,
Correct.
which is super hot. That sounds a lot hotter than 101. How long does it take for my internal body temperature to get to that 101 or 101 and a half threshold so that I'm going to experience those benefits? And I obviously don't want to, even if my brain doesn't freak out till 105, well, no,
105.
Yeah, so, you have a child with that kind of a fever.
Right.
That's when, as a parent, you're like, Houston, we got a problem. We really got to do something.
Well, there is a discussion on the children's side. So we do have applications for children that are different than the adult.
I'll bet. They're smaller bodies. They're going to heat up faster.
Everything is faster.
Yeah.
Okay. And to your point, if you've ever raised an infant, oftentimes if they get a little fever, it goes from 100 to 104 like in 10 seconds, it seems like. And it's alarming because you're interpreting it as an adult. But for a child, their tolerances are a little bit different. It's still not healthy. Well,
it's not healthy for them to stay there. I think that spike maybe serves a physiological function to some degree.
Of course, because there's...
You don't want to suppress, I'm not telling you to leave your kid with 104 fever.
No, not at all. But in the same right, a low-grade fever, and I tell people this, like as an adult, if you start getting a higher temperature, 100, 100 and a half, 101, I'm not rushing so quick out to take some kind of a supplement, aspirin or something to try to lower that down, because that's my body's natural way to actually lower the ability for these invaders to come to replicate.
Sure, and it activates aspects of your immune system as well, like different enzymes operate at different temperatures in the body.
And something that our sauna does really well, it's called a heat shock protein.
Yes, we love those.
Yes, and so we put them out. And particularly with this challenge with the COVID virus and all that, we discovered that there's a particular heat shock protein that our sauna will generate that actually targets the COVID type of a virus as that.
The coronavirus.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's go back a little. So going back to how hot does it need to be in the sauna for my body temperature to get to that 101?
Okay. So it really is based on
threshold?
it's basically dependent on your BMI.
Of
Like
course.
someone your size and your like physique, you're probably 5% body fat, something like that.
Not quite, but thank you.
Anyway,
Smart
that,
man.
well, it comes with age. You know?
Yeah, wisdom.
All right, so you would respond much quicker than, let's say, a man that's 200 pounds or a person 200 pounds and has a little bit higher BMI. They may take 45 minutes to an hour, and you don't do this right away. We go low and slow. We assume everybody is toxic, and certainly if you're symptomatic, we take even extra care. But it would be kind of like, my analogy is if I was your swimming coach and you were fearful about drowning, you never swam before, and I threw you into the deep end of the pool without a life preserver and said, I'm just going to go and grab a coffee, be back in a half hour.
And you're going to be fine.
Yeah,
People
don't
have been
worry
swimming
about it.
since the beginning of time.
Yeah,
You're good.
just do whatever's organic.
Float. Just float.
Right, we all know the outcome of that story.
Yeah.
So, but our approach is sort of low and slow, and I would start you in, if you were very symptomatic, maybe a toe in the water,
Yeah.
or just the shallow end. Feel the depth, feel the water, have that fear move away. And then slowly, as your body is acclimating to sauna, we were changing the timing, the number of days. These are super important. The sequencing of when you do sauna is super important. If you do it earlier in the morning, you're going to get a better result. So now that doesn't, well, let me back up a step. If I had to choose between optimal choice and practical choice,
Yeah.
I'll choose practical every day.
Yeah, what people will actually do. is
Well,
what
you want
Robbie's
something
saying.
that becomes a lifestyle
Yeah.
choice. This isn't about, in my opinion, we try to direct people to think that our applications are about offering abundance and self-love, treating yourself to the best thing you ever could be, good health and prosperity in that way. It's not, even though you may have Lyme and you're using sauna to help you with Lyme, it's really you're helping yourself and giving yourself that love. You're not treating a disease, you know that. By the way, most diseases are wrongly diagnosed, and Lyme is one of the top ones because it mimics so many different kinds of diseases. So mostly I like to think that, you know, it's about every time you get in that sauna, you just get a little healthier, you get a little more vibrant, you get a little more to that goal of that optimal best version of yourself at that moment in time.
Absolutely.
And we have created the platform and way to do that.
Right. And so you've added, so heat's great.
Yeah,
you know,
heat is,
and heat's amazing, and it's going to get you so far. But you know, for you, heat was not enough, so you decided to add infrared spectrum to that heat.
well,
And it's part of how the heat's generated.
yeah.
correct?
Actually, what happens, infrared is a wavelength. So there's two kinds of saunas out there, or classes. It's the ones that have convection heat, that would be like a hot rock sauna or a steam room.
So like a conventional, like a Finnish sauna.
Yeah, that would be a hot rock type.
Okay.
But that's a heating element here. It heats the air up, ambient air up, and that ambient air touches your skin, and eventually, because it's a very high temperature, like 200 degrees or more,
Right.
that goes through your skin, that insulating layer of fat that's under your skin.
So it takes longer to get
Longer,
to heat
and
up
it doesn't
core.
penetrate as deep.
Okay.
So these are all things, but what you will do eventually is you'll sweat, and sweating is a great way, detox pathway to get poisons out. Now the difference between the convection type heat and infrared sauna, or infrared technology in a sauna, is that infrared is a radiant type of a heat. So it's now a wavelength of sunlight. It's invisible, so you can't see it. And in our Thera 360 Plus unit, we have actually red light panels along with all the full spectrum infrared. So you do see red light in this particular version of our sauna, which you got to find out about.
Yeah.
Anyway, so and the
Going in for an upgrade, guys.
and the benefits of all those things.
Yeah.
But you have this opportunity where you're having all these frequencies, you're bathing in these frequencies, right? And where before you had this barrier of the insulating fat under your skin preventing the hot rock sauna version of convection for that heat to come in the radiant heat, you have this sunlight vibration that penetrates through that insulating layer of fat seamlessly because it's actually resonating at the same frequency as the water inside the fat molecule
Wow.
that's in that layer.
Right.
So it comes right into the body. It vibrates, finds the densest parts of your body, which is your organs and muscle mass.
Yeah.
It starts vibrating inside. We call that a bioresonance.
Yeah.
It's a technical term.
Yeah.
And that liberates heat. Okay. And so now you're getting warmed up kind of on the inside.
Like deeper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it warms up these organs and actually the most vascular parts of your body. So now vicariously, when you warm up a muscle or an organ that has veins and arteries around them, you're warming up those veins and arteries. And when you warm them up, they dilate. So immediately what happens is you get improved circulation.
Wow.
Which is one of the big things we're cleared for to talk about legally by the FDA and by Health Canada. It's one of the three qualities. So creating higher metabolism or better circulation is one of them. And that's not trivial, by the way, because your blood carries all your DNA, all your healing properties, all your food, nutrition, and oxygen.
And waste. So it brings nutrition to and waste out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So think about that, right? So if I can do anything to improve your blood circulation by 15 to 20%, which is what will happen when you're in sauna, okay, I'm going to really change the quality of life.
Yeah, no kidding. But okay, so then now with someone who's very toxic, we talk a lot about in our community, we talk about binders because we talk about the release of toxins. Some of them are going to come out through the skin in sweat, but there's a certain degree and a certain amount of them that we just can't move out, or you're not in there long enough. You can only stay in a sauna for so long.
Right.
And as you said, you know, we're going to have to build up to those higher lengths of time. But there's the discussion about what binders, what can we do to prevent those toxins from just basically being released into the circulation and just finding another resting place and making you feel worse. Like we do see people who come out of sauna and feel like a bag of broken toys, and they're like, I don't know why I'm doing this. And of course we know very often this is a reaction, it's a response to the toxins that have been released and have kind of settled in somewhere else. So
yeah, we say it in a nice way. We call that a recovery reaction.
A recovery reaction, okay.
Yes,
so,
that's the modern term.
But we don't want a recovery reaction, plus we want to make sure those things get moved out.
Yeah, and it's a detox response. That's all it is. And that's your body responding appropriately to the way it's designed to be. So the first thing I do when we take on a new client or patient is when we interview them, have an opportunity to talk, and we have a free coaching service. So when you buy any of our products, you can just make an appointment. I manage that team, and then basically they're health coaches. And we talk about what your goals are, what your challenges are, and then we give you a manicured protocol that fits and serves you. And then we track you for almost 2 months, a little bit longer, just to make sure that you're doing everything right and you have any questions and so forth, you know. And so that's all part of it, right? And all of us, again, we respond a little differently. So this way we can take we send out a best optimal guide. And before I was talking about optimal versus practical, right? And so...
Like when will you do it? Even though morning is best, morning's not going to work for you.
Well, morning is best, actually. Okay.
Yeah.
And so because the technology is cumulative, the more often you do it, the better the result. But if you're very symptomatic, I may start you off at once or twice a week.
Yes.
That's the shallow end, right?
Yeah.
Just have your body acclimate. You'll have a personal sauna. It's going to be in your own home. You can do this at the comfort and your own timing. You'll have it forever. So what's the rush?
Yeah.
You know, if you're symptomatic, it could have taken you 10 years before you got enough toxicity inside of you for you to have any symptom at all.
Right.
Right? So that's what I call climbing the toxic mountain.
Right.
So you do that one step at a time. Coming down the mountain, it's hard to fall when you're going uphill.
Well, coming down is the worst.
But if you come down too fast, you can fall and go right on your nose, you know? And so we kind of go low and slow getting into sauna because that's truly coming down that toxic mountain.
Right.
And we try to do that in a gentle way and something that's healthy. If you're very symptomatic, if you have Lyme disease, the last thing we want to do is make you feel worse.
Right.
And that was your segue into binders. And so we know the sauna will mobilize all the toxins in your body. Okay? Now the question is, how do we get them out?
Yeah.
And what we don't want is to retox.
Exactly. We don't want them resettling in a different place.
Exactly.
Or the same place, wherever.
So 70% of the toxins in your body are stored in that layer of fat under your skin. When you get into sauna and now the infrared frequencies are coming through and that vibrates the water inside that fat and it liberates all those poisons, about 80% of that, if you're sweating, if your detox pathway of sweating is opened, will come out through your pore. But 20 goes the other way into your serum or your blood. That was your point. Plus, that same bioresonance, that vibration is shaking loose all the poisons that are stored in your muscles, your fat, your organs, all that stuff, right? Inside your body. And so that's dumping into your bloodstream. Okay, that's why we sort of titrate. We go very slow because we just don't know how toxic you are, unless you've got a little meter on the side of your body that shows you that little.
Yeah. No, we haven't,
my God.
you haven't invented that yet.
No, please don't take me there.
No,
Okay,
we're not
I've got
going there.
enough on my plate.
Okay.
But the idea is that the only way we know is through the way the body sort of pushes back and gives us a symptom. That's that redox or detox response. And we found some pretty good companies that make very unique binders that are very specific. So if your goal is to lower heavy metals, we can mobilize the metal, but how do we get it out? And so if you have a binder, which is like a biosponge, ready and waiting to grab that poison when it, or toxicant, when it comes out, then we're doing our job. And then you either pee, sweat, poop them out.
Right.
You know, some toxins like lactic acid, that's like an overworked muscle. You've probably been sore from a gym workout. That's a toxin.
Right.
But that actually dissipates. It comes out a different way of the body.
Right. So are there different binders for different things, or
Yes.
is there a general binder we can use? Like
Well,
I've heard of, like there's binders for that are helpful with the brain. I think it's Zeolite.
Right.
And then there's people talk about activated charcoal. Then there's the green stuff. So
Well,
is it possible to take a full spectrum binder if you don't know what's going on with you?
It's a good question, actually. To address full spectrum, probably the closest thing to that would be a superfood like spirulina, chlorella, or
it's the green things I'm referring to.
the green things.
Yeah.
Because they not only bind, but they also have nutrients, and basically your body will absorb 100% of that little organism, which is really good.
Yeah.
The challenge there is that they're farmed, and if the waters that the spirulina or the chlorella or the blue-green algae are in are polluted, then you're actually going to translate some of that stuff into your body, which isn't the greatest. So you have to make sure that wherever you're sourcing that superfood from, it comes from a reliable place that's been lab tested, so you know that you're getting good stuff. So that's the food application. And there are other kinds of foods like what's the
Seaweed's
one?
really good for
Yeah,
detoxing, is it
yeah,
not?
yeah,
Well, which
kelp.
is kind of like in the chlorella, spirulina world.
Yeah,
but it's a different. It's more of a food. Well, not
And-
more, but
And sea-based nutrients are generally pretty good, provided the waters are good. You know, that's all part of it. Back to the other binders, the one that we generally start people on is a charcoal-based. And the one that we like these days is made by a company that actually uses a charged carbon particle. And so it potentiates with the body so much more because the body has a charge, and now you're taking this supplement that's got a charge, and boom, like a magnet, they kind of hook up. And so it kind of works. It's the most efficient kind of binder that we've ever found. And I've been doing this for many years.
wow.
So-
So you're not selling this. It's you just basically direct people to this company, or
Well, we have a special relationship. We have a website that we'll sell. People can get it at a discount than the normal pricing. And they do have a public sort of version, and they have a doctor's version. So
Right.
because we're practitioners, we allow the public to get a hold of the doctor version,
Great.
which is a little different formulation, but still super effective. And then when you're working with us as part of our community, we offer a savings when they're available on the products.
Amazing.
So we start generally people off on the charcoals, okay? And now, by the way, if you've got some in your cupboard, we would always use what you have first because it's going to do something.
there.
And so let's get that off. And then when you're ready to lock and load again, then we would direct you to brands that we work with, we've tested, and both clinically, and we know most of the times we know the compounders who've been around for a little bit.
amazing.
So we are always optimizing and raising. I love all of my friends' relationships and the collaborations we're doing with the different companies we work with. But if I had to choose friendship over efficacy, I'll always choose efficacy because it's you that I have in mind.
Yeah.
Who's going to be using
sure.
it and how it's going to help you, right?
Okay.
So that's the direction that we go. Even though we love you all, and we just hope that you use that process to help self-police to just keep dialing up what you're doing so that we can maintain the integrity of our friendship and advocate
better.
to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So charcoal is the first thing, and then bentonite clay is in that category
Yeah.
too.
Sometimes you get supplements that combine them, right?
Right, and that's
Yeah.
one. It's a great guy that does that. And then, so that would be one class. That's what we call the big sponge or macro binder.
Yeah.
And we would start people there because it's going to grab environmental toxins, the stuff that we get into our bodies through food, water, and air, and household chemicals, stuff like that. And then the other class is a small sponge, the nanobinder, and that's going to be a zeolite derivative,
Okay.
which is silica is the big broad name, zeolite is the subcategory. And the challenge with zeolite is that one in particular, like you can get any charcoal you want, or clay, pretty much. But the zeolite you have to be particular with because it actually is charged itself, like a little magnet. And it's found on the earth, right? And it's very common. But so is strontium, cadmium, heavy metals like lead and mercury, and now aluminum is a big one, right? And so that little magnet in earth is going to actually attract those things.
So you could be introducing them into the body.
Boy, you're smart. So you need a lab-tested zeolite or something that comes recommended. We do our job in going through everything, so we kind of save you all that trouble of finding it out yourself. And then we bring that to make it available through the WOW site, our sister site, so that you can purchase it and then integrate it into your protocol. And so usually we go for use the big sponge first, and that gets all the easy, low-hanging fruit toxins out. You're already starting to feel better sleep, more energy, more focus, stuff like that. And then we start in the same process of mobilizing toxins, and it's sort of like peeling the layers of an onion. So we grab the first layers first, right?
Right.
And so the core are going to be the biofilms and the mycotoxins, like from mold, or the heavy metals. And so we have to kind of inch our way to those. And so the protocol, when you're up to heavy metals, you're probably 6 to 8 weeks in, in one of our protocols, and you're probably at 160 degrees for maybe 45 minutes.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
So we start off 110, 120 for 30 minutes would be our first goal.
Yeah.
And see how your body does. And it could take 3 to 4 weeks before, based on, if you're symptomatic, it may be 100 or 110 for 10 minutes,
Yeah.
We just take it, and that's really kind of the interesting part about it, because we want you to become more aware of that little inner voice inside of you. Mine I call my inner Elmo.
Okay.
So when Elmo speaks, I listen, because Elmo is always right.
Yeah.
So the best doctor I know on the planet is the one that lives inside of me, that little voice.
I love that.
When you've had too much, your voice says you've had too much, or gives you a sign. And now the idea is we start listening to those signals that our body is giving us.
So yeah, because so many of us in many ways stopped listening to our bodies a long time ago, right? So a big piece of healing is reconnecting the head with the body, and we talk about it in coaching as getting out of your head and into your body, it's a big piece of it. So we don't have that much time left, and I want to, unfortunately, so if you don't mind.
This wasn't all day?
No, I know.
Okay.
So
well, you'll have to stay tuned for the next episode.
So I wanted to kind of do some rapid fire questions to kind of finish up without leaving people hanging on too many fronts, because there's so much more information here. So when we're using the binders, obviously, if you're dealing with a burden of disease or toxins or whatever, you're going to want some coaching through this process. But as a general rule, you would use your binder before the sauna, during the sauna, before. Also, you're never going to use binders very close to when you've taken other supplements, because it's going to bind to supplements, correct? Could it potentially bind supplements and move them out of the body in the same way?
It's kind of an urban myth there.
Is it really?
Yes.
I'm so glad I asked that question.
But the thing is that, first off, if intuitively it doesn't set right with you, anything I'm saying, because when I'm talking about it, things that we've researched, so that's both the published science and what we've established in clinic for practical use. But still, there's your own feeling about it. And if you're taking certain supplements or medications and you're fearful that there might be some interaction there, then separate some time between them.
Okay. And obviously, if you're on medications, you're going to want to kind of clear that with your medical doctor, like before you get into something like this. So you're going to use the charcoal, and then eventually you'll graduate to the zeolite. You're not going to use both at the same time, or would you potentially use both at the same time in certain conditions?
Yes and yes.
At a certain point.
Yes and yes.
Both.
Okay, so what I described earlier was just sort of the normal process of going a normal person, feeling generally good, wanting optimal health, and so we know they're toxic, so we go after the easy available ones. That's the macro binder or the charcoal, and then we kind of sort of shift into just charcoal to a combination of charcoal and a little bit of the little sponge.
Okay.
Okay, and then like for myself, I just take the little sponge all the time now.
Right.
Because I don't need the big sponge that much. But I
But
do
you still do it sometimes because
Totally.
we're retoxifying all the time, like at some degree.
Yeah, but the little sponge grabs most of that now.
Oh, it does.
When my body is efficient. I've been doing this for 25 or more years, so I'm pretty good at what I'm doing, you know, about this. Again, now if I had a Lyme patient and they were very symptomatic, and I know that part of the reasons why they're very symptomatic is because they're toxic, because they have all these really small particles, I may choose to actually do both the big and little sponge at the same time to start them off. So I can lower their symptoms because I'm lowering the toxins that are actually causing them to feel bad.
Okay, gotcha.
And that gives them more of their life back, but more importantly, and it gives their practitioner more time to actually find the root cause and come up with some great ideas or ways to get them back, expedite that healthy journey. But it also is a smoother transition for them. Now, for a normal person that's just optimal, I would start them off big sponge, then transition to little, and then over time, like myself, I'm just doing little sponge, but I do something interesting. I actually microdose all day.
Microdose?
Binders all day.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So I religiously, and this is something everyone should know, you take a binder before sauna, especially if you do it earlier in the morning. If you're not doing sauna every day, you take binder every day, every morning. And then the next time that I do it every day is I take binder before bed. Between the hours of 12 and 4 in the morning, your brain actually shrinks a little bit, and there's sort of like a car wash event that's occurring with your spinal fluid that basically creates a detox. And so why not grab those toxins? And that would happen with the binder you take at night.
Interesting.
So morning and night, and then in between is based on to me, it's based on your activity level. So because I'm pretty active, I'm microdosing binder before my activities. So I get up at 4:35 in the morning, I do my sauna then. So I'm doing my binder, doing my thing, I meditate in the sauna and ask for forgiveness. That takes about an hour. And then, well, that's just for the day before.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah.
I'm not going further than that. I try to stay current. And then
stay in the present.
Right. And then I go for generally a pretty healthy bike ride, around 8 to 10 miles. And that's 8 or 9 o'clock. So I'll microdose binder before my bike ride.
Because of course, when you exercise, you're releasing toxins because you're sweating.
So every time you do something that's going to liberate a toxin, why not have a little binder ready to grab it?
Yeah.
It's going to help your body get it out, right? So what are those things? A rebounder, a vibration plate, a chi machine, going for a brisk walk or a run, bike riding. Going yoga,
any
weightlifting,
workout. Any workout.
A massage, actually. Have you ever had a massage? You get up from the table and you're feeling like,
oh yeah.
Well,
so you want to take a binder before the massage because they're moving your lymph. For sure.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the binder thing.
Amazing. Okay, so we're now down to less time. So we didn't get to the stacking, and I really wanted to get to stacking.
Okay, so what do you
I'll rapid fire, and what we'll promise the audience is we will do a follow-up interview where we're going to not talk about this stuff, and we're just going to pick up where we left off here, and we're going to talk about all of the things that you stack onto sauna, because I know that while people are in the sauna, you're adding things. There's that cute little box, that little ozone generator. So you have 2 minutes to go.
Okay.
Fire it off.
All right, so the concept is...
So this is just a preview to the next interview.
Right, that's part 2, so stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right, so the concept was that the sauna itself was the hub of a wagon wheel, and the spokes were the other modalities that we can bring in to the sauna experience to just advance your journey.
Right.
So what are they? What stacks?
Yeah.
So the infrared sauna creates the platform, meaning the vibration gets your blood going, improves your oxygenation, and our particular version of the sauna has this red light and near frequencies. They're full spectrum, but we dialed in the front end a little bit because that actually produces a gas called nitric oxide.
Yeah, we love nitric oxide.
And so when you add nitric oxide into your bloodstream and you introduce a little extra oxygen, which we do with another device that we call the Therosage. It's an ozone device.
Yeah.
Now you got a perfect stack because your blood's ready to grab more oxygen. You're already oxidative. You have oxidative stress, which means you've got low oxygen in your blood. And so your blood's primed and we're introducing the extra O through your skin in the sauna, because when your skin gets hydrated, it actually becomes a stronger, more efficient breathing organ.
Sure, and the pores are open. Really,
Exactly.
like mechanically, your pores are open.
So you sweat out poison, you breathe in whatever's in the sauna. So we introduce oxygen, we introduce aromatherapy or essential oils, or especially organic ones that have high vibration and energy. It's medicine. Actually, most pharmaceuticals and synthetics are mimicking the natural things that come from plants and flowers, and that's what an essential oil is. So we've developed a really cool dispenser. You pick your oil. We do have choices of 5 different oils you can buy that are blends, but most people that do essential oils and that aromatherapy, they have their own brands.
You become your own little alchemist.
Yeah, and that's good, you know. So we're just creating the platform again, wagon, wheel, and spokes. So aromatherapy, guided meditation. We have a breathing device that's called Singlet Oxygen Energy. We could spend an hour on that one alone. So that's super cool. That's called forest air. So you can breathe in sunlight. Imagine that, right into your cells. For mitochondria, wow, that's like a blast off. So these are all things that you can do. But we don't do them all at once, because it's important, mostly because if you have a reaction of sort, and you have too many things going on, you're not going to know which one really triggered you.
Absolutely.
So we introduce one, we do it slowly, we see how your body responds. When you're stable and you feel strong and you've got the willpower, again, depending on your goals, then we'll introduce another, and it's a plan.
Amazing. I love it. It's amazing. It's a journey.
Yeah.
Also.
But isn't that the one we're all on?
Indeed,
Let's
it
have
is.
a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hanging out with people like you, it's inevitably going to be good. So, Robbie, thank you so much for your time today.
Are we done with that little list?
Well, I think we're just going to have to leave the room for someone else.
Okay,
if we were on my podcast, we could just keep going. But we are on my podcast, but we're also doing this on behalf of Biohacking Congress, and they have a schedule to keep. So,
and you guys have to come here, because this place is awesome. The people organizing are great, and they bring Nathalie in she's traveled all the way from Canada to be here, and not to interview me particularly, but I feel honored.
I would.
Well,
I would come here just to interview you.
But mostly it's just to get to touch you guys. So
Anyway,
happy to be here. Thanks for having
Robbie,
me.
if you could just finally just let people know where they can reach you and learn more about all of this, because you have just so much to offer. So
Therasage.com, our website. We have a really cool, I love my Instagram. I don't know if you've ever been on our Instagram channel. It's Therasage Infrared, I think is the one. If you guys are but I get up first thing every morning, because people post their joy. And as a device developer, it's nice we really move the needle if you've got a chronic challenge. But when you're optimal, it's a little bit more difficult to keep you strong and actually dial it up even more. But the joy that I see for people posting their stories with their kids and their dogs and their animals and the bubblers and the different devices we make, it just makes me feel really great, because I really want the health and wellness category to be a joy, not a burden.
Yeah, so it's not an obligation. It's, I get to do this every day.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And when you step outside the U.S. and probably Canada too, like if you go to Europe, like in the Baltic states, they have community baths and hot rooms and steam rooms. The Native Americans had sweat lodges. Like these were all
community.
We don't have that much of that in the U.S. I'm not sure about Canada, but I think that I can sort of bring that sense of community back and family, and I see that joy in the Instagram. So they can get Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I don't even pay attention to that side of me. So we do have an 800 number, 888-416-4441. Customer service would be info at therasage.com.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This has been great. A pleasure again.
Always.
Thank you.